I had every right to have these documents, personal belongings, in boxes. Joe Biden didn't. Even Mike Pence didn't have that right. They weren't covered by the Presidential Records Act. I was, because I was president. I'm probably the only person in history in this country that's been indicted, and my numbers went up.
Wow, it has to be hard for his lawyers when Donald Trump keeps confessing to the crime. As we've told you before, the twice impeached, twice indicted former president is wrong each time that he claims to have had the right to take highly classified documents from the White House. He didn't. However, he was correct that following the news of his second indictment, his lead grew over his Republican presidential rivals, according to the latest NBC News polling. That may not be due to Trump's strength, but actually to the degradation of the once grand old party. That is the view of the conservatives' conservative, former federal judge Michael Luttig, a longtime star of the legal right, a perennial Supreme Court shortlister, and an early mentor of Senator Ted Cruz. In a New York Times op-ed, Luttig writes, "No assemblage of politicians, except the Republicans, would ever conceive of running for the American presidency by running against the Constitution and the rule of law. But that's exactly what they're planning. The stewards of the Republican Party have become so inured to their putative leader, they have managed to convince themselves that an indicted and perhaps even convicted Donald Trump is their party's best hope for the future. But rushing to model their campaign on Mr. Trump's breathtakingly inane template is as absurd as it is ill-fated. They will be defending the indefensible. If the indictment of Mr. Trump on Espionage Act charges, not to mention his now almost certain indictment for conspiring to obstruct Congress from certifying Mr. Biden as the president on January 6th, fails to shake the Republican Party from its moribund political senses, then it is beyond saving itself, nor ought it be saved." Joining me now is Stuart Stevens, senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, and Joyce Vance, former U.S. attorney, MSNBC legal analyst, and professor at the University of Alabama School of Law. I take it, Stuart, my friend, that you agree with Mr. Luttig.
Oh, I think he's a little optimistic, actually. There's no other conclusion to come to but that the party isn't worth saving. You know, nobody is forcing the Republican Party to support Donald Trump. There's a lot of other people out there. They want to support Donald Trump because Donald Trump best represents what they want to be. It is not a rule of law party. It is a party that is about shifting America from a democracy to an autocracy. And that may sound alarmist. It's part of the challenge of how to talk about this, but that's just the absolute stone cold truth.
And, you know, the thing is, Stuart, that, you know, the way that Donald Trump speaks, he speaks like an evangelical, right? He was at the Faith and Freedom Conference over the weekend getting cheered and lauded and saying, I was indicted for you. Now, the you in question did not steal classified documents or foment an insurrection. He did, right? You know, but he's saying, I'm an indicted. That is like Jesus language, you know, as if my body is being broken for you. He speaks like that. And let's be clear, his base are white evangelicals. They lap that up. And to the point where one evangelical leader had to come out and say, no, it's Jesus Christ we worship. When you got to say it, you know, this is worship, right? And I don't know how you break people out of something that is basically a religion.
You know, this is a hallmark of autocrats. If you read a book like by Ruth Ben Diaz's brilliant book, Strong Man, they become the state because there is no rule of law. There is just this person who will save us from chaos. And that's why there needs to be a constant and manufactured threat to America, be it these caravans crossing border, to the idea that these powerful forces out there like Canada are threatening America. So only this person can save us. It is a complete corruption of the American experiment. And if they're successful, it will be the end of the American experiment.
Yeah, and I should say it is anti-Jesus language. It's sort of like Jesus in the bizarro world kind of language. But let me bring you in, Joyce, because all of this is happening in this weird context where Donald Trump's legal situation is getting worse and worse and worse. So you had a couple of rulings. You had the seemingly very pro-Trump judge, Judge Cannon, Eileen Cannon. She denied the special counsel. They requested to hide the names of 84 potential witnesses that were testified. That's actually good news for journalists. So actually, I think we're for that. But it does seem like the case is hardening against him and more cases seem to be teeing up. It isn't changing much, but on the legal front, things are getting worse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Things are getting worse. And if you're the special counsel, if you're any of the other prosecutors looking at Trump, you're just lapping up these television appearances where he continues to confess sort of in slow motion, piling on a little bit more every time he appears on TV. You almost expect him at some point to say, oh, and by the way, you know, I still have more documents sitting in my bedroom or in my sock drawer. He's become so effusive about it. But to Stuart's point, the real problem watching all of this is that you're considered an alarmist if you point out that this is more than just the end of the Republican Party, that what the government really will end up putting on trial in this case is very much a Republican Party that has failed in any meaningful way to reel in Trump, to reel in their support of Trump, or to tell their base the truth. Even at this late date, they still have the ability to say, these allegations that the government is bringing are true. Donald Trump is not fit to be the leader of our party. And their lack of willingness to do that is something, you know, that we should still consider shocking, even in an era where many of us think that we're past shock.